Hey everybody, back today with another top 10 song list. I'm here with Gary from Physical Format Rock and Roll. We've done quite a few videos together. Always great to see him. Gary, how you doing?
Great. Good to see you, Rich.
Thanks. And the first time for me anyway, Gary's worked with him, but Jeff Witcher's with us. Jeff Witcher's Final Destination. Pleasure is mine to have him here on our show. Jeff, how's it going, man?
Good, man. So happy to be here. Finally, I've been watching you and Gary videos, and so glad I get to participate in this one.
We recruited you because, you're from the Michigan area where Seger's from. We're doing Bob Seger, so we thought it was a natural. So glad to have you here. Anyway, Bob Seger, for those who don't know, great classic rock icon as far as I'm concerned. He's all over the radio. Heartland rock. He's got that soulful voice, does some ballads. He can do rockers, of course. He's a great songwriter, excellent performer, a storyteller. So he's the whole package. He's in the vein of a Springsteen, a John Fogerty, maybe a Mellencamp. He brings that kind of element to it. He's big in the Rust Belt, which is all three of us. We got Michigan, we got Ohio, I'm Pennsylvania. So we're all Rust Belt states. And he's right in our wheelhouse. So appeals to the working class man and woman. So we're going to do our top 10. As usual, we're going to do some honorable mentions. We'll start with Jeff today. And what cuts or what songs did not make the cut in your list?
Okay, well, this was a real hard list. And, when you're from Michigan, actually, it is a misdemeanor to say anything disparaging about Bob Seger or not like Bob Seger music. It's punishable by 30 days in jail or a $1,500 fine. So everybody here, we're all in on Bob Seger. But yeah, this was a real hard list to put together. So the five that I left off of my list are, and I know that my number 15 is not a song he wrote, but I still love this song. It's Come to Poppa. Just love that track. It's almost got a cop show, gritty, funky feel to it. I love the clavinet on there. I think it adds a lot to the song. Always like that one. My second honorable mention is going to be Till It Shines off the Stranger in Town album. I just love the guitar lick on that. That lick. It's just so, it just hooks you right in. Always love that one. It's kind of a lazy little rocker there. Number 13 for me is going to be Rock and Roll Never Forgets. So hard to leave that out of my top 10, but I had to at least give that a nod in my honorable mention. It's a great lead-off track on one of my favorite Bob Seger albums, and just a real fun, gritty rocker, kind of name check some, old rockers that influenced Bob Seger. Just a real fun track and great song to dance to. Number 12, I'm going with an oldie but a goodie, Ramblin Gamblin Man. Always love that one. Or that early Bob Seger stuff with the Bob Seger system. That was just so great. You can definitely hear all of his influences. You got the Motown and the Stax, rhythm section that he replicated so well. And it's just a great kind of chunky rocker, another good song to dance to. And then 11, the same thing. I'm going with early Bob Seger. I am going for the song Lucifer off of this lesser known album. This is Mongrel. Not many people are familiar with that one. Everybody kind of takes everything from, or at least most people take, everything from Beautiful Loser on forward, but he had some really great early records also. And I just love that Lucifer a song. It's kind of almost like his Sympathy for the Devil, his take on that track. But I think it's a fun track. I think it's one of his best early songs. And that's going to round out my honorable mentions.
Wow, very good. We have a lot of similarity there. I'm going to go through them after Gary, but I had three of your same honorable mentions. Gary, what's up? What do you have?
Yeah, well, what I think about this topic here, this is obviously going to be one we're going to have a lot of the same songs and everything. So, I mean, that'll work out great. You know, we get to talk about them and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, one of my honorable mentions, and this just popped to my head. I was thinking of this earlier. It's a remake, but I love when they do Nutbush City Limits. The way Bob Seger does that song, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I realize that's Ike and Tina Turner, but it's kind of ballsy that they do that song in a way, but they do such a good job of it. It's,
Yeah.
you know, when they do it live, it's just a kick-ass song. Next up, We Got Tonight, which I love that song. Just, it's, you know, two characters of, you know, hey, look, you know, we don't know where this is going. We don't know what's going on for sure. We both got things going on in our lives, but right now we got each other. We got each other tonight. And he just does a great job singing that song. It's just kind of a, I don't know, beautiful type song.
Right.
Next is Against the Wind. Older now, still running against the wind. I mean, you know, you can relate to that the older you get, right? Things
Tell
don't
me
get
about
any easier.
Nope.
And then finally, a song that I went back and forth on this, putting it in my top 10, but somehow I didn't. And that's Jody Girl.
Wow.
I love that song. You know, just the whole, you got the popular girl in high school, right? And now she's middle-aged woman and she's, you know, still living in the past. Oh, you know, my best days were back then, and now I'm reminiscing about it. I miss that and everything. She's kind of unhappy, but I mean, you know, a lot of people, that's the way they are. We all know these people. You know, all they ever talk about is what they did in high school, and they're still living back then, man. And Jody Girl is kind of like that. It's kind of a sad song, but it's a great song, and I think it was kind of a step up for him as far as his songwriting goes.
Very good. You guys have hit on 4 of my 5 honorable mentions between the two of you. The one you didn't talk about is Katmandu. I put that on my honorable mentions. It just didn't make my list. I love the song, obviously. It's a great one, but Gary had We've Got Tonight, classic ballad. Lovely, you know, Who Needs Tomorrow? Let's Take a Chance. So, you know, Both of Us Lonely, all those kind of lyrics.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. And of course, Jeff had the other 3, Ramblin Gamblin Man from like 1969, early Bob Seger. Love that. And from what I understand, Glenn Fry's background singing in that as well.
Yeah.
Before he left to go to California to form the Eagles, he's a Detroit guy as well. Till It Shines. I love that song. When I did a previous top 10 list on another channel last year, Till It Shines actually was my number 10. And I flipped it around a little bit this time, but I love that song. Tell Me About My Solitude, Put Me in the Mood, all that kind of stuff. And the guitar lick, very pleasant sounding. I love it. And the other one is the leadoff track off of Night Moves, Rock and Roll Never Forgets. That's a kick-ass song. It's got the Chuck Berry reference in there as well. Just classic rock and roll, and it puts you in a good mood as soon as you turn it on. It jams from the beginning and never lets up. So those are my 5. And he's got 10 more that I like a little better. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So you guys wanted, we're sort of impromptu on this. Jeff, do you want to do the 10 through 6, or do you want to rotate and just go 10 all the way around the block?
I can do 10 through, let's do 10 through 6.
10 through 6, and once we get to 5, we'll just rotate.
Yeah, that
So
sounds good.
we're going to do that to cut back on a little bit of time. So Jeff's up with his 10 through 6.
Yeah, you know, just real quickly, you brought up Glenn Fry, and there was a story that I heard, and I don't remember if it was on that Eagles documentary or not, but, you know, when Bob Seger and Glenn Fry were both struggling musicians and they used to hang out together, one day they were riding in a car together and a song by the Cowsills came on, which, you know, if anybody knows, they're just like the cheesiest brand 60s, you know, bubblegum pop in the late 1960s. And Glenn Fry wanted to turn it off, and Bob Seger's like, no, don't touch that dial. And Glenn's like, what are you talking about? What do you want to listen to that song for? And Bob Seger is like, they're on the radio and we're not. So learned there, like,
That's a good one.
they're where we want to be. And so there's always something to learn from every, style of music. So I always thought that was a very cool anecdote. But anyway, so my number 10, and I'm going to be going to this album a lot because it's one of my favorite. This is going to be off the Beautiful Loser album. I'm going with Travelin Man. I mean, the version on Live Bullet, I think, is the definitive version, but if we're just looking at studio tracks, still love Travelin Man. And lyrically, it's almost like a hybrid of the Allman Brothers, Ramblin Man, and the Beatles' In My Life, where the guy's talking about, I've been a free spirit all this time, but along the way, there are some very important people. And he's reflecting on kind of all his years of being a free spirit, just kind of wandering life's highway and looking back and, saying those are the memories that make me a wealthy soul. He's better because of all the relationships and experiences that he's had. So I like that song a lot. I think lyrically, it, reminds me a lot of a song that Bruce Springsteen could have related to. Number 9, I'm going back to the 60s. This one is from 1967, even though it found its way on a 1972 album called Smokin' OPs, and I'm talking about heavy music. I just love that bass rhythm. It reminds me a little bit of Cool Jerk, kind of that bass rhythm that he's got going there. And I just think it's cool. It's, he's talking about the radio and radio hits and all those old cool 60s and, maybe even late 50s songs that he heard growing up on the radio. And just, I love that soulful, that early soulful side of Bob Seger that you hear in some of those late 60s records. So I had to give a nod to that song. Number 8, I'm going with Love's the Last to Know off of the Distance album. Not really, it's kind of a deep track. Not many people are familiar with that song, but I think it's real tender. It's sort of, ruminating on the end of a relationship and how sometimes they don't end the way that necessarily we would like them to. And it's kind of a song, a little bit of regret, a song of mourning. It's definitely a beautiful ballad that he wrote. And I don't think really too many people talk about it when they talk about Bob Seger, but I've always been a fan of that song. Number 7, I am going to go with the title track off Beautiful Loser. Love that one. Lyrically, again, it is about somebody who he wants his cake and he wants to eat it too. He wants to be a free spirit, but then he also wants to be tied down. He wants this, but he wants that. He just can't decide what he wants. And as a result of that, he kind of settles for nothing. And at the end of the day, he's just as Bob says, a beautiful loser. But, Bob's not really passing judgment on him. He's like, well, he is what he is. And there's something that you have to admire about a person like that. He's not causing anybody any harm other than himself. So I really liked that one a lot. And that actually was inspired by a Leonard Cohen novel. That song was, which I thought was interesting. And then number 6, this is another album. I could have picked 10 songs very easily off of this album. I'm talking about Night Moves. I'm going with The Fire Down Below. Just love that one. I mean, Bob Seger, at that point in his career, could do no wrong. He was just churning out such perfect, not only, great radio hits, but just such memorable rockers. And he put so much passion into those songs. Not only the arrangements, but the way he sings them. They're just so much fun to listen to. And I don't know, they're just, in some ways they make me smile. He's looking out for Rosie and he's walking the streets for, just the whole, I don't know, it's so kind of funny, this gigolo guy, whatever, cracks me up. It's such a fun song. Bob Seger's songs are so much fun to listen to, and there's so much enjoyment that I get even now you know, and I was playing some of these songs just to kind of refresh my list. They're just fantastic.
Absolutely. I agree with you about that Night Moves album. That whole album could have filled out the top 10 list very easily, you know. Tremendous. And the weird part is he had 8 albums before that, and that was the one that really kickstarted that, and the live Bullet album really skyrocketed his career. And then after that, all his albums were in the top 10 for a long time. So good stuff. Gary, 10 through 6.
Live Bullet really saved him.
Yeah.
Number 10 is Still the Same. I've always loved that song. I love the fact that, you know, you're not even really sure if he could be talking about a man or a woman in this song. You know, he uses all these gambling references.
Yeah.
You know, you assume when you hear it that, you know, he's probably talking about a woman at first, but really when you break it down, he could be talking about a guy, he could be talking about a friend.
Yeah.
That, you know, has always, you know, just kind of always ended up, you know, hey man, he just never changes. You know, he's always going to screw you somehow. He's always going to take off, you know, or it could have been a woman, you know, who never stays with you type thing. Either way. But I love the lyrics in that song. And I it's funny because like there's certain things that Bob Seger does that if it was anybody else, I wouldn't like it. And I have other artists that way too. It's like they can do certain things. Like I only have certain artists that I like to hear horns in the music.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And very rare. Jay Giles can do it a lot of times. Of course, Jay Giles kind of coming around the same time as Bob Seger's coming up.
Yep.
But one of the things like is those women in the background, you know, the way they're saying, still the same, baby, baby, still the same. I feel like if that was somebody else doing that, I'd be, oh my God, that is so lame. But when I hear it on that song, I think it's great.
It works perfectly in that song.
It does. It does. Number 9, this was already talked about. Jeff already talked about it, but Come to Poppa.
Yeah.
I just think that's him. You know, I mean, I guess I didn't even realize it was a remake. I didn't know that until Jeff just said it. Right then, I had no idea. I didn't pay attention. But to me, it just sounds like, you know, he's like, you know, yeah, come to daddy.
Right.
I'll take care of it. You know, that kind of thing. And, you know, Bob Seger can do that, sing like that and sound authentic.
Yeah.
When he
But
does,
it sounds like, you know, like he's sitting on that throne on the beautiful Louis cover, you know. It's like, I mean, that's you get. Like, I got my rings here, I got my top hat, daddy, you know.
I look like a pimp.
Yeah, yeah.
He was dressed like one on that throne too. You know, he looked like
yeah. The music on that song on Come to Poppa, it sounds to me like it could be from the band War. You know, if you just take Bob Seger not singing on it and you just listen to that song, it's like, yeah, this could totally be off of a War album. And it works. It just has that funky groove going on there. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Number 8 is Fire Lake. I love Fire Lake. It's basically, to me, a country song as far as how it sounds. And it's also, the lyrics are kind of mysterious in a way. I mean, you can take them literally to an extent, or you can add whatever you want to it. It could be very high art lyrics. I mean, if you want, he could be, you know, Fire Lake could be hell. You know, he mentions Uncle Joe in that song. It's kind of like, well, what did Uncle Joe do? And, you know, then when they talk about the women lying with the women and their golden hair and everything, I mean, what exactly are they? Are these just normal girls? These just Michigan girls, you know, they're by the lake in their bikinis, or are these sirens? You know, I mean, what is it? You know, you can take that song different ways.
I like the Bronze Beauty reference too. That was cool.
Yeah.
Beauty.
Yeah. So, I mean, however you want to look at it, either way, it's a good song.
Yeah.
That I like.
Glenn Fry on backing vocals on that one too. if I'm not mistaken, or at least one or two Eagles on backing vocals.
Yeah, I think actually Don Henley and Glenn Frey are both on that.
Good one.
My number 7 is the same as your number 7, Jeff, and that's Beautiful Loser. I mean, you pretty much said everything about it. I mean,
Yeah.
you just can't have it all. He says that about the guy, but then the whole guy, it's like he doesn't want to try too much. There's things he wants to go for, but he doesn't. He just kind of stays there. He's a very middle of the road guy, never quite gets what he wants. But like Jeff said, well, hey, there's worse things, right? He's not a bad guy. He's just never going to accomplish anything that great. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy or anything, but he's a beautiful loser. Number 6, and I don't know. I honestly, when we started this list, or when we talked about it, I assumed this would be higher, but that's Night Moves. I've got that at number 6. And what can I say about that song? That's so iconic. You got that part at the end there, where he started humming a song from 1962 and all those lines that he says right there. That's fantastic writing.
Absolutely.
There. That song, and the thing about that song, as much as I love that song, Night Moves, and a few other songs that Bob Seger did around that time, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about as this list goes on. The whole thing about him kind of, talking about, these crazy times he had when he was a kid, the girl, them running around, having sex in the woods and in the back of the car and all this stuff. And, I was young, I was tough at that time and everything. And now I kind of look back and just reminisce about it. That whole thing though, now Bob Seger, he was a master at it. But what I hate is I feel like starting from about 1995 and on, every single newer country artist has tried to rewrite that flipping song. I almost lost it there because they get on my nerves. I hear them and they're all, yeah, we were crazy back then. I can't believe we're still alive. And it's like, you are ripping off Bob Seger, you stinking sons of bitches. It's like, write your own songs. But they basically, and they all have it. Every single one of them. They all do it. I don't know how many versions of it I've seen. It's like, you know what? You're not Bob Seger, guys. Okay? Do something else. Go back to writing about your tractors and that kind of stuff. Because you can't. I'm sorry, Kenny Chesney. You can't do this stuff.
You can throw them all in there. Tim McGraw, Brad Pace, I don't care, all of them. There's all the same. Even Kid Rock did a similar thing. All those guys.
Yeah, Kid Rock definitely tries to.
Especially Kid Rock.
Yeah.
For sure. So okay, that's my 10 through 6, sir.
Very nice. Yeah, I like all those songs. My number 10 is again off the Night Moves album, Sunspot Baby.
I knew that show up.
It's about getting burned by a woman, sort of blindsided. He's got that soulful delivery though. She left me here stranded like a dog out in the yard. Love that. Charged up a fortune on my credit card. Looked and then he's like searching for it. Looked in Miami, looked in the grill. The closest I came was a month-old bill. Just beautiful songwriting, I checked the Bahamas. They said she was gone. I can't understand why she's done me so wrong. And then of course, Sunspot Baby. She sure had a real good time. I'm going to catch up sometime. So it's somebody that fleeced him a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time before he catches up with her. I like the way he sums that up at the end. My number 9 is one that you guys both had at number 7. That's Beautiful Loser. Made all 3 of our lists, so it's one hell of a song. Again, it's about somebody who is sort of happy and content with his life. He doesn't want to shoot too high. He's settling for normalcy a little bit. He likes his security. He wants his home and security. He wants to live like a sailor at sea.
Yeah.
He wants his freedom, but yet he wants to settle down, sort of settling a little bit. A perfect lodger, a perfect guest. So he's a nice guy, just sort of stuck in a routine. Beautiful loser. Read it on the wall. Realize you just can't have it all. So I really enjoyed that song, and I like the way they do it on the live album with Travelin Man. And it goes right into Beautiful Loser. It's
Yeah, that's really cool.
that is awesome. That arrangement itself, fantastic. Number 8, I have from the Against the Wind album, Her Strut. I saw where this was inspired by Jane Fonda, believe it or not. Love to watch her strut. He's been criticized for objectifying women in the song. I used to hear this personally when I used to frequent the strip joints in the old days when I was a young lad. And this is a pole dancer's delight, man. Her strut, she comes out, does her thing, and they're playing that song in the background. So we just went R-rated, ladies and gentlemen, just for the record. and the lyrics, and again, Seger is a storyteller, songwriter. She's totally committed, a major independent. I think that's sort of the Fonda reference there. She's a lady through and through. She gives them a battle, all they can handle. She'll bruise some, she'll hurt some too. Oh, but they love to watch her strut. And then it goes into that, just a fantastic song. That's my number 8. My number 7 is from the Stranger in Town album, and that's Feel Like a Number.
Yeah, that's good.
Again, this is a working class rock song. The ordinary 9-to-5 average Joe who's punching the clock, gets no recognition or respect. In Seger's voice, you can hear a little anger and defiance. To workers, I'm just another drone. To Ma Bell, I'm just another phone. I'm just another statistic on the street. To teachers, I'm just another child. To IRS, I'm another file. I'm just another consensus on the street. I work my back till it's racked with pain. The boss can't even remember my name. I feel like just another spoke in a great big wheel, like a tiny blade of grass in a great big field. And I feel like a number. I'm not a number. He's just defiantly telling you, I'm a human being. I'm not just a number to all you other people out there, to society in general. And I think everybody can relate to that, who's ever worked for anybody or come up through the ranks. Does the boss know your name sometimes? Maybe not. And if you get stuck in some big office building, or you're just another number. So I like that song. Always did like that song. Number 6, Fire Down Below. Again, Jeff mentioned this. Deals directly with sex in the lyrics. It's kind of scorching lyrics. It happens out in Vegas. It happens in Moline, the blue blood streets of Boston, up in Berkeley and out in Queens. And it went on yesterday and it's going on tonight. Somewhere there's somebody that ain't treating somebody right. And you got Rosie and Nancy, and he's naming names, man. Rich man in his big long limousine. Poor man got to have his green. The banker, the lawyer, and the cop. One thing's for certain, it ain't never going to stop. It's sort of like prostitution in a way. One thing in common, they got the fire down below. So these hot chicks on the streets and the guys taking advantage of it. So, a great songwriting song. I don't know if he's objectifying women or not. He's just telling the truth. So, solid song as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
All those songs are kick ass. Can't leave them off my list.
No question.
All right, now we're going to get down to the top 5, and we're just going to go around the horn here until we get down to 1. So, Jeff, what do you have at 5?
All right, number 5, I got again, I said I was going to pick a lot of songs off this album. I'm going back to the Beautiful Loser album for Black Knight. Love that one. And I love his cadence and the way he sings that song. He's got, "He could seem to come on with a vengeance. You think that you'll be wasting time? You know, it just got such a badass delivery to it, you know. And the way that he just kind of fires off the verses like that are so great. I love the kind of that funky clavinet solo on there. You got the kind of the keyboard trading, you know, solos with the guitar on that one. But that's always been a great deep track. Always been one of my favorites off that album. Yeah, like I say, I mean, I could have picked, like I said, with Night Moves, same could have gone for Beautiful Loser. Beautiful Loser and Night Moves are just perfect albums. There's not a weak track on either of those records. So it was real hard because there's so many that got left off my list from both those albums. But I do, you know, try to cherry pick as best I could. But yeah, number 5 is Black Knight.
Cool pick.
Awesome.
All right. My number 5. Already talked about it, but this was his first hit, Ramblin Gamblin Man. This is Bob Seger being a macho guy here. You know what I mean? He's got all these slower ballads and stuff, which I love. But this is one of his real early ones. It's the first hit he had. And like we said, it's got Glenn Fry, who you can totally hear Glenn Fry singing in the background on that, because he's like trying to be heard in that. But that song, you know, I ain't good looking, you know, but girl, I ain't too shy, not afraid to look a woman in the eye. You know,
Right. That's a good lyric. Yeah.
He's just pounding his chest while he's singing that, you know. He's got that Hammond organ going through there through that whole song. It's just a kick-ass song. There's really not much to think about on that one. It's just a good rocking song. So that's my number 5.
That's one of the few songs that I actually prefer the studio version to the version on Live Bullet. Not that there's anything wrong with the version on Live Bullet, but I just feel there's so much more immediacy to the version that's on the record.
Yeah.
On
that one.
You know what? That's funny, because I totally agree with that statement. And I thought of that too. I was thinking about mentioning that, because like a lot of these we're talking about, I prefer the live versions of it. But that one, even though it's really early and you would think recording wise you wouldn't like it, but I definitely like the studio version better than I do the live version on that song.
I agree with that too. And you have Glenn Fry there to throw in. So perfect.
Yeah.
My number 5 is one of his sort of slower ballads, I guess you'd have to say, but it's a classic rock staple, Mainstreet. Great storytelling about a street in, I believe it's Ann Arbor, Michigan. I love the imagery here, the pool halls, the hustlers and the losers, the dancers. Used to watch them through the glass. I mean, just going down Main Street, you see that kind of stuff. I'd stand outside at closing time just to watch her walk on past. Unlike all the other ladies, she looks so young and sweet, her body softly swaying to that smoky beat. A little bit of alliteration there, softly swaying, smoky beat, down on Main Street. Just beautiful songwriting. And then at the end, he goes, through the long, lonely night, she filled my sleep. Again, back down on Main Street. I just love the way it flows. His voice is great on it. The instrumentation, perfect. So that's my number 5.
Well, that guitar lick too.
The guitar, it makes the song. It really does.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
You can hear one note of that and you know what's coming. It's a beauty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and I love at the end too, where it kind of shifts. Like at the very end, as it fades off, you know, it kind of shifts keys or something, you know, it's like different. It's the same lick, but it's played in like a different key or something, or there's a slightly different chord change to it that's just different as as the song fades out, which I think is cool. Some of the best songs do that.
Yeah. Great. All right, number 4, man. Getting there.
Okay, my number 4 is one that Gary's already talked about. Still the same. And the thing that's unique about this song is it's entirely piano based. There's no lead guitar on it. There's barely any rhythm guitar. the piano carries the entire melody, which is unique for a Bob Seger song. One of the things that I really like about it, but I'm not gonna, we already you talked about it. You covered it better than I could, Gary, but still the same as my number 4.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
It's a good pick. Good pick.
Yeah. My number 4, which is funny, this didn't become a hit until after it was on Live Bullet, but it's Turn the Page. I mean, you know,
What can you
what
say?
classic song. I mean, it's, you know,
Yeah.
those lines, everything in that song, man, you're right there. You are right there in that story. Rich, you talked about him being a storyteller. Never more true than like in this song here. You know, just talking about going into you know, sometimes you can't hear him talk, other times you can. All those same old cliches. Is that a woman or a man? But you always seem outnumbered. So
Yeah.
you don't dare make a stand. That's just, you know, you can just picture that, man.
That's great storytelling. You could, and it's cinematic in a way because you can see it. You can visualize him coming into a place and getting the stare down with the long hair and.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's like that scene in Easy Rider. You know, that scene in Easy Rider.
Yes.
Hopper and you know, Fonda and Nicholson go into that.
That's right.
Bay, and all the, you know, the rednecks are there laughing at them, and you know, it's sort of like that's what that song reminds me
It
of.
exactly reminds me of that scene. Yep, you're
Yeah,
right.
me too. I always think of that scene, and
Yep.
you know, unfortunately, you know how foreboding that scene is. Oh.
Yeah, and what happens to those guys in the end? It could have been those people that were staring him down that whacked them. So you don't know.
Then the other part, of course, about that song, and we all know it, when you're listening to it off a Live Bullet, and it's toward the end, and you know, he's goes, now here I am on the road again. And then when he goes, you know, yeah, when he screams, now here I am.
I like that
on
vocal
the
thing. Yeah.
road again. It's like you're just waiting for that, for him to do that. And, you know, thinking like the first X amount of times that you heard that song and all the hair on your arm stood up when he did that part, man. He just screamed. He just rips his vocal cords on that
raw,
one.
It's very emotional, very raw and passionate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic.
That's
It made
awesome.
my list. It made my list. It'll be a little bit higher, to be honest with you. I got to put my glasses on. I have tremendous eye strain here from my.
Well, I won't say more about it. That was my number 4 pick.
Yeah, great pick. My number 4. Yeah, I'm kind of selling out here. It's a Chevrolet truck commercial. The title track, like a rock. It was, I think it ran a dozen years. It's overexposed. I get it, but it doesn't dull the impact of the song for me. It's looking back at youth when we were in our prime, of course. I like the lyric, 20 years now, where'd they go? 20 years, I don't know, because it goes like that, you know, when you're my age anyway. A really strong vocal by Bob, very relatable lyrics. I was 18, didn't have a care, working for peanuts, not a dime to spare. I was lean and solid everywhere like a rock. And aging is tough. And you blink and it goes real quick. And I just always loved that song. I like his vocal in it. It has so much passion, which we talked about in other songs. But that's one of the strengths of Bob Seger is he brings it, man. He brings it in every song, whether it be the ballad, the rocker. He's, you know, he can do it all. That's why it reminds me of Springsteen in a way, because Bruce does the same thing. I think Bob's got a better voice than Bruce, to be honest with you. If you're breaking it down, I mean, I might like Springsteen's lyrics a little bit better, but Bob Seger, man, great performer. I saw him only one time, and he was great when I did. So I'm partial, but he's and a great song, an underrated songwriter. He doesn't get the credit of being a good lyricist as he is. And these are all great songs. All the ones we've mentioned so far, I think they're top notch. Every single one.
Yeah.
As we break into the top 3.
All right, my number 3, and this is a song that we've already talked about, I'm going with Sunspot Baby on here, but there's so many things I want to break down that I love about this song. You got that beginning piano, and then you got the Chuck Berry riff, and then you got Bob Seger, who I just envisioned this guy standing in his underwear outside his trailer, a jack in one hand, and he's like, she picked up her bag, took off down the road. He's got this incredulous expression on his face. And it's like, what a sad sack son of a bitch, She took my credit card. And she was going to visit Sister Flo. That's one of my favorite lines on there. Like, you said you were going to Flo's. It's so funny. I mean, you feel for the guy, but at the same time, it's like this guy, she took everything from this guy and he's singing about it. But it's just a great rocking song. And Bob Seger, he brings it vocally. He sells it so convincingly. The band behind him, it's such a tight band that he's got on this record and on this song. And it's just so blistering, the solos and how they all, it's basically, it's a Chuck Berry riff. They're pretty much, doing a Chuck Berry derivative kind of a song in that bluesy kind of idiom, but I think it's so fantastic. And always, like I say, these songs put a smile on my face and I can't help listening to it. Just, God, this song's so brilliant, so funny, and so well executed.
I agree.
Yeah, it's really funny, like you said. I mean, that out of all his songs, that might be one of the funniest. I mean, it's almost like a blues parody in a way. I mean, lyrically, but somehow, once again, Bob Seger managed to sell it, and it's good. It works for him, and you're still rocking out to it. So it's great.
Yeah.
My number 3, already been talked about quite a bit by both you guys, but it's Her Strut. I just say, I mean, the lyrics sound like it's a couple of, horny 14-year-olds having their first taste of a beer, and they go, "Hey, let's write a song." But the music just carries that, man. That's a badass riff on that. You love to watch it strut. Now, and I don't know if he did this on purpose or what, like where he says, they do respect her, but,
you mean the butt?
But I'm doing it, but it's, the song, we love to watch her strut, right? They're watching her ass,
right?
As she's walking down. They do respect her, but it's like, what?
It's a play on words, man. That's cool.
I know, but it's like,
it is funny.
It is. It's there's a definite amount of corniness to it, in a way, and the whole thing of like, he's kind of like trying to say, yeah, she's independent. She's an independent woman, and she does this, she does whatever she wants and everything, But you know what? We're just checking out her ass.
Yeah.
As she's walking away. It's funny, but like I said, it rocks so good that
it does.
You can't help but like that song, whether the lyrics are a little on the archaic or cheesy side. I mean, it just works. It's a great song.
It's a guy's song. I mean, if you have testosterone, there's plenty of women out there that you respect, but you're still going to eyeball them when they turn around. I mean, it's just if you have that kind of mentality. I mean,
I know it's just a whole. I just think you're right. He's writing this song. That's what it's called, Her Strut, but yet he tries to throw in these lyrics like oh no, we totally respect her and everything. Hey, she's really smart and everything. But it's the whole song is called Her Strut.
Right.
It's like, I don't know.
It's like somebody that reads Playboy for the articles. You're still going to look at the friggin' centerfold. You know what I mean?
It's just whatever. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Right? I love it.
It is great.
I make fun of it, but I love it.
Yeah. And that riff is killer. And like I said,
yeah.
it's a dancer's delight. You know, you get them on that stage, man. That's the song. My number 3 is one that Gary mentioned, the live version, of course. Turn the Page. Life on the Road. It's got that incredible sax too.
Oh yeah.
You know, that sax that just runs through it. It's like a travelogue of riding the buses, the restaurants, coming in from the cold. We talked about the Easy Rider scene. That definitely hits home here. The energy it takes and how it drains you being on the road night after night. He's laying in bed thinking about the woman or the girl he knew the night before. You know, smoking the day's last cigarette, the sound of the amplifiers ringing in your head, because you have to come down from that high of being on the stage and you're still buzzing, man, until about 4 a.m. before you can get some sleep. And then here I am on the road again. Here I am up on this. There I am up on the stage. Here I go playing Star again. There I go, turn the page. So the next day it's the same thing. Back on the bus, play another show in another town. It's the life of a musician, really, before they can afford the plane to get them place to place. They're making them long treks on the highway. It's a great song, and it made my number 3.
And it's great because it's authentic.
It's authentic.
You know what I mean? Bob Seger. So, you know, he had the Ramblin Gamblin Man was a hit pretty early in his career. And then, like you guys were saying, you know, he had all those other albums that were not hits. And so, you know, here he was, you know, back on the bus again and just hitting the diners and this and that, the late night truck stops and everything.
Yeah.
He just lived it. That was real life stuff, that song. It's not like some made up stuff. This is somebody who lived it and just basically said, you know what? I'm going to write down what I'm doing.
Yep. Great stuff.
Yeah.
All right. My number 2, I'm going to go with Katmandu. Love that one. And that just shows, you know, what a great singer Bob Seger is. And he doesn't get enough credit for it. People always talk about his songwriting, what great songs he writes, but he is a powerful showman. And the way that he delivers a song, and Katmandu, you know, I was listening to it again today, and he's got so much urgency and desperation to this vocal, you know, and he sings it in so many different ways. He gets down into the lower registers, you know, I got no,
right.
The whole thing. He sings like that. And then in the verses, he's just belting it out. He's screaming it. And I love, like, towards the end of the song where he's talking about, you know, the USA, and that last line where it goes, "There's no one loves me here anyway." You know, the way he just that kind of like, you know, no one loves me here anyway. I'm beating it. I mean, like, why Katmandu of all places? Like, you know, is he going there to meditate? Is he going there to kind of find himself? You never know, like, why Katmandu. He's talking about all the places that he doesn't want to be, but you never find out, like, why Katmandu? What's the allure of Nepal that you want to go there? You could go pretty much anywhere, you know, and that's kind of the mystery of the song. But the way he sings it, you've got so many different excellent guitar solos. This song is just such, you know, again, the Beautiful Loser album is just a clinic in great songwriting, great performances. It is just rock and roll, blue collar rock and roll through and through. And Bob Seger is an artist that never sold out. He never tried to go disco. He never tried to, you know, go with the trends, what other people were doing. He didn't try to do the new wave thing or reinvent himself to try to stay current. He just did what he did throughout the course of his career. And that was, he stayed true to his roots. And, you know, he still was playing, you know, bar burning, you know, rock and roll, you know, up to this day. But yeah, Katmandu for me, again, it's an entertaining, fun, funny song that Bob Seger, you know, just so perfectly crafted.
I just want to jump in real quick. You said he never went with the trend, and that's true. He never did MTV videos that I know of. where some of his contemporaries like Springsteen and Petty and Mellencamp, they were all over MTV. But Bob Seger stayed away from that. He just did what he did, and you got to admire him for that. He might have had one or two that promoted a movie. I forget the
Like
movie.
Shakedown or something.
Shakedown
like
or
that.
something like that, but not a straight up video. You know, he didn't, and he wasn't at Live Aid. He didn't get involved with some of that stuff that was popular and pulling those guys in at that time. So he was true to himself, and that's what you got to respect. All right, Gary, number 2.
Well, in a way, I don't know. I feel like this song kind of goes with what you just said, and that would be Hollywood Nights, because this is a song about a Midwest guy who just doesn't quite fit in out here in the glitzy Hollywood and LA. It's about a guy, you know, meets a beautiful woman, you know, but he's over his head, right? He's in over his head. He doesn't know, am I too far from home? Can I ever get back home? He's never going to feel comfortable. Yeah, it's fun, you know, riding around while he's got things going on. You know, he's partying. He's got the hot looking woman and everything, but he wakes up one day and she's gone. And it's like, you know, now what do I do? It's just basically about Bob Seger not fitting in to that mold. You know, he was never a West Coast kind of guy or anything. You know, you talked about the whole Rust Belt and everything, and that's where he built his reputation.
Right.
You know, this Midwestern area of here, he didn't build it out west. You know, he wasn't Mr. New York City or anything like that. He was never the artsy fartsy pretentious guy or anything like that. And this song is him saying that, in my mind. I mean, you know, he puts it to a story. He has characters like he does, but that's basically what he's saying. And in the song itself, you know, just a great song. It's got such a galloping rhythm. They actually overdubbed the drums on that song. That's, you know, to get that propelling like that. And, you know, once again, vocally, he's superb on that. He's telling that whole story. And then when he, you know, Hollywood Nights, you know, just the way he sings it.
Yeah.
Got the background singers with him again.
Mhm.
Works really well. And it's just a song where you picture yourself in a way. You can picture yourself in that situation, you know, say you were 21 years old and all of a sudden, you know, boom, there you were out there in that world. How would you fit in? Kind of thing. You'd feel like an outsider too. And that's what that song gives me, that feeling when I hear it. Hollywood Nights. Always love that song.
Well, and that album cover, I think, is a great depiction of that song. You got him standing against the city lights, which probably are Hollywood. And he's a stranger in that town. You know, he doesn't belong. He's a fish out of water. And I think, you know, that's a great kind of visual for that particular track.
Yep. Agree.
Very good. My number 2, I think, is one of his better written songs lyrically. The title track, Against the Wind, from 1980. Again, this is a theme of looking back. It was the end of his 11-year relationship with Janie. He writes about that in the song. Secrets that we shared, the mountains that we moved. We were young and strong, running against the wind. And this particular line, wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. It's a cool line, play on words. Time moving on, surrounded by strangers I thought were my friends. Guess I lost my way. Guess I was living to run and running to live. Moving 8 miles a minute, months at a time, flying back and forth. Breaking all the rules that would bend. I began to find myself searching for shelter again and again. I'm older now and still running against the wind. So I think it's a beautiful song all the way through. And at the end, he's got that ride, the Cowboys ride at the end. He's just constantly running against the wind, and it cost him a relationship. Very, very personal lyrics in there that I think a lot of people can relate to. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then.
Yeah.
I wish I had written that lyric. I like that.
Well, kind of like also like Jeff was mentioning for Still the Same, the piano really helps carry that song. It's got a really nice piano.
Oh yeah, and beautiful little segue
going
there.
through
Yeah,
that song.
Yep.
Yeah. Love it.
Absolutely. All right, we're down to our numero uno.
Oh.
All right. Well, my number one of my biggest regrets in life is that I never learned to play guitar. I picked it up many times. I've tried to learn many times, and I just never could. But the song that I always wanted to play, and I always tried to learn how to play when I would pick up an acoustic guitar, would be my number one song. It's a title track off of this album, Night Moves. Just that great opening guitar. You know, anytime I picked up an acoustic guitar, it's like, I just want to sound like this. I just want to be able to play this song. I grew up listening to this song, I mean, since I was little, and always impressed on me what a great song it is, how well written it is. And Bob Seger, you know, this is a song that has multiple bridges on it, and he actually was inspired by Jungle Land by Bruce Springsteen. You know, he wanted something, you know, very expansive when he was writing this song. And I love it. I think it's one of the best things Bob Seger ever wrote. He's gone on record saying it's the favorite song that he ever wrote, and he's been trying to write a better song ever since. And he spent 6 months trying to write this song. I mean, it was the longest song that he ever spent time writing. And I mean, I think it paid off. You know, but now when I hear the song, I can't help thinking there were a couple of you know, morning radio hosts. They were called Drew and Mike here in Detroit, and they used to do song parodies. And they did a parody of this song, and it was called Nice Boobs. And so whenever I hear this song, I was like, you know, that's always like kind of there in my periphery, thinking about that. But yeah, I love Night Moves. I love that album. And, you know, just great songwriting, and one of the reasons why Bob Seger is so great.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much a perfect song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just everything you know, both we've all talked about it, and it's just, I love that song. My number one, and it's funny because like if we would have done this 10 years ago, I would not have mentioned this song. This, for whatever reason, this song has just grown on me over the years, and that is Roll Me Away. Man, I love that song. I love the fact that it you know, here's a character that is probably middle-aged, you know, like maybe in their 40s or something, and kind of like they hit that point where they're like, you know what, I'm getting out of here. I don't know where I'm going. And you know, I think everybody hits that stage at some point in their life. And, you know, they talk about guys having like a midlife crisis and all that kind of stuff. So everybody hits that point where they're like, man, what am I doing? You know, what am I doing here? I just want to take off, you know. And then, you know, most people, you know, they can get over it, or they get happiness where they are, whatever it is. But this is a restless spirit here. And, you know, he takes off down the road on his motorcycle, doesn't even know where he's going, stops off at a place somewhere past Mackinac City, has a beer, meets a woman. You know, they don't even talk about it. She just wants to get out with him. She's kind of feeling the same way. They go taking off on his motorcycle. And then she realizes, yeah, this is not for me. You know, I want to go back home. So Bob says, okay, I'll see you. You know, I'm still on this journey, whatever it is, you know, he's got to do, wherever he's got to go. He's still going. He says, I look east, I look west, I go wherever I want. You know, he's heading out west. And I think all of us probably have looked out west, just wondering what would it be like to just head out there, you know. Normally it's, you know, you might get that feeling when you're a lot younger. You know, I know there were times in my life when I was like, say, in my very, like around 20 or something, and I'd be coming home at night from like partying or something, and I, you know, probably have some Doors music on in the car, and I think, what if I just kept going? what if
Yeah.
what if I just kept driving? You know, didn't say anything to anybody and just went. What would happen? You know what I mean? And that song and the whole, you know, he sees an eagle soar through the air, senses the freedom of that bird. It symbolizes that freedom to him, you know. And he just loves the idea that I can go wherever I want. I'm going to get things right this time. He's done something in his past. He's leaving, right? He doesn't really say what it is, but whatever he does this time, he's going to do it right. And it's just a great song. Roll Me Away.
It is a good song. It almost made my honorable mentions, but one of the ones.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know why that song has just grown on me, and it's like one of those ones I never noticed as much before.
Yeah.
And it just really grew on me. It's like lyrically, I think it's just another great song of his, that it's just another type of feeling. He writes songs of being in certain situations, certain points of your life.
That's right.
And you don't have to be in that point of your life to enjoy that song. You just can look at it and say, wow, that is just really well written, really describes how somebody feels at a certain point in their life. And that's what that song is to me. So
Very good. My number one is the same as Jeff's. I couldn't get around it. I think it's the best song he's ever written, and that's Night Moves. Started humming a song from 1962. Ain't it funny how the night moved? And in addition to the inspiration that Jeff talked about with Jungle Land, where he wanted to be more expansive and write the ultimate song, he had seen the film American Graffiti and said, you know, I have a story to tell too. I can look back at that particular time growing up in the early 60s, which he did. He was born in 45, so he would have been 17 in 1962. And we weren't in love or not far from it. We were just young and restless and bored. He's telling about his early sexual, learn on the fly kind of in the cornfields, in the back of cars, that type of thing. And I just love the lyricism and the imagery. Again, she was a black-haired beauty with big dark eyes and points all her own, sitting way up high, way up firm and high. I mean, that's just awesome stuff. Out past the cornfields where the woods got heavy, out in the back seat of my 60 Chevy, working on mysteries without any clues, working on the night moves. Beautiful songwriting. And again, to get more explicit, I used her, she used me, neither one cared. We were getting our share, trying to lose those awkward teenage blues, working on the night moves. I mean, you can't write a better song than that. I'm sorry. And you can't deliver a better song than that. And the strumming that Jeff talked about at the beginning, just a great opening. And it would entice anybody to want to learn to play guitar. I've tried many times too and failed miserably. So you either have it or you don't. I could never get the chords right. I don't know what it is. It's a mental block, I guess, because other people who look like they don't have an IQ above 70 maybe can play a beautiful guitar. So it's an inborn thing. You either have it or you don't. And I just couldn't grasp it. I would love to play guitar. It's one of my biggest failures in life.
One more thing about that song, because it is such a great song. You know, both you guys had it at number one. I had it at number 4. And like, if you would have asked me at a different point, you know, maybe a couple of years ago, that'd probably been my number 1 also. But this is just for this week. But anyway, what I love about that song too is, and maybe this is something that when these country guys try to rewrite this song, is there's a lot of vulnerability in that song. You know, I mean, there's things, you know, he's kind of bragging in a way.
In a way.
But but he also taught, you know, like you say, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I mean, he creates kind of a vulnerable picture of himself, and that is what makes that song so great.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because a lot of artists won't do that. They won't, you know, I mean, Springsteen does a good job of doing it. You know, we've mentioned him, and you know, Tom Petty can do it. And I think the fact that he can do that in that song is just adds to it. That's what makes that song so special and so identifiable.
One of the other things I like in the song is in the arrangement is when he's listen for the thunder, and then it goes silent, and then that strumming comes up at the beginning of the song again, and it rejuvenates for the final portion of the song. It's just beautifully arranged. You know, how far off I sat and wondered. Started humming the song from 1960. It's just, it has like a bunch of bridges, like Jeff said. It's awesome song.
Well, and he was still a young man when he wrote that, but there's such maturity in that song.
Yeah.
You know, same as Bruce Springsteen, but you know, that's a song somebody could have written in their 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
You know, because there's that line, you know, an autumn rolling in, you know, the whole the autumn of my years is upon me, and I'm not a younger man. I wish I could go back. I wish I, you know, didn't know then what I, you know,
all that stuff.
Just sort of like reminiscing about when he was naive and before, you know, he became wise to the ways of the world, and you know, just kind of reflecting on that, and you know, the whole nostalgia of those times, and kind of that, you know, nervousness and awkwardness that comes with, you know, sexual relationships. And it's just, you know, something that everybody can relate to. It's one of those songs that no matter what class of society you come from, no matter what part of the country you come from, it's something that everybody can relate to. And that's what makes a great song.
Absolutely. Because we've all lived those years in one way or another. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up. I want to thank Jeff Witcher, Vinyl Destination. Please sub him up if you haven't already. I'm sure everybody out there knows this guy. Same with Gary, Physical Format Rock and Roll. Both fantastic channels, great guys to work with. I'm glad they did this with me. Please leave comments. Love to hear your feedback on your personal top 10 Bob Seger songs, what we left out. Your number one, see how it corresponds with what we have. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Peace.